I, 26M, was raised by my uncle Jacob, 49M, after my parents died in a plane crash when I was 8. They were flying to attend a business conference when their small private plane went down due to bad weather. Uncle Jacob was my dad's only sibling, and he didn't hesitate to take me in. He never married or had kids of his own, saying his work kept him too busy, but I think he just never found the right person. He ran a hardware store that my grandfather had started, and it was his pride and joy. Growing up with Uncle Jacob was different from having parents, but he did his best. He came to every school event, helped with homework, and taught me everything from fixing a leaky faucet to managing money. He worked long hours at the store but always made time for me. When I was younger, I used to do my homework at the store after school, sitting behind the counter while he helped customers. As I got older, I started helping out too, learning the business from the ground up. I met Megan, 25F, last year at a local coffee shop where she worked as a barista. I'd stop there every morning before work, and we started talking. She was beautiful, funny, and seemed down to earth. She'd recently moved to our city from a small town, trying to start fresh. Her background story touched me. Her dad left when she was young, and her mom worked multiple jobs to support them. She told me how watching her mom struggle made her determined to build a better life. We started dating, and things moved pretty quickly. Megan was different from other girls I'd dated. She was ambitious and always talked about her dreams of opening her own business someday. I admired that about her. Uncle Jacob liked her too, always making sure to include her in our family dinners and treating her like part of the family. I work as a junior architect at a local firm. The pay is decent, but housing costs in our area are insane. Uncle Jacob insisted I stay with him even after I got the job, saying it made sense to save money for the future. When Megan and I got serious about marriage after dating for a year, he extended the same offer to her. He said we could live with him until we saved enough for our own place. The wedding was small but perfect. We held it in Uncle Jacob's backyard, where he'd helped me build a pergola for the occasion. Megan seemed happy with the simple ceremony, even though her mom couldn't make it due to work. Uncle Jacob walked her down the aisle since she didn't have her dad in the picture. Things were good for the first 2 months of marriage. We had our own space in the house. Uncle Jacob had converted the entire upstairs into a separate living area for us, complete with a small kitchen. He gave us privacy but was always there if we needed anything. I thought we were building a good life together, saving money while working towards our goals. The changes started when Megan got a job at Drake's, 45M, this upscale restaurant downtown. Drake Cooper was known in our city for his successful restaurants and flashy lifestyle. Megan was excited about the job, saying the tips would be great and she might even learn about running a business. At first, the late nights didn't bother me. She'd come home talking about how busy the restaurant was and how the extra hours meant more money. But then I started noticing changes. New designer bags appeared in our closet. She began wearing expensive jewelry she claimed were gifts from her new work friends. When I asked about the cost, she'd get defensive and say I was being controlling. The comments about our living situation started next. She'd make snide remarks about how her coworkers had their own places. She'd compare our life to the lifestyle Drake and his rich friends enjoyed. When I reminded her we were saving for our future, she'd say I lacked ambition and was too dependent on my uncle. Uncle Jacob noticed the changes too. He overheard her on the phone once, complaining to someone about living with an old man. It hurt him, I could tell, but he never said anything to her. He just told me to be careful and make sure I was happy. The truth came out in the worst way possible. Amy, one of the servers at Drake's, messaged me on Facebook 3 weeks ago. She sent me pictures and videos of Megan with Drake, them kissing outside expensive restaurants, holding hands at hotel entrances, getting into his car late at night. The worst part was learning that Drake had set Megan up in a luxury apartment near the restaurant, where they'd meet when he told his wife he was working late. Amy explained that she couldn't stay quiet anymore. Apparently, Megan had been bragging to coworkers about how Drake bought her whatever she wanted. She even showed off the key to the apartment, joking about being a kept woman. Amy included screenshots of texts where Megan called me pathetic for still living with my uncle. When I confronted Megan, her reaction shocked me. She didn't cry or apologize. Instead, she laughed and said she was surprised it took me this long to find out. She said living with my uncle made her feel like she was stuck in a retirement home. She called me a mama's boy who couldn't cut the apron strings. According to her, Drake was a real man who could take care of a woman properly. Uncle Jacob heard the whole confrontation. He came upstairs when the shouting started, worried things might get physical. Megan took one look at him and sneered, saying she was done pretending to be the perfect little wife in our boring little family. She packed a bag and left, saying her new life with Drake was better than playing house with a boy and his uncle. The next day, Uncle Jacob wanted to go confront Drake and tell his wife everything. It took me hours to talk him down. I didn't want more drama, I just wanted out of the marriage. I filed for divorce the same week. Since we'd only been married for 6 months and had no joint assets, my lawyer said it should be straightforward. The hardest part has been dealing with mutual friends who think I should forgive her. They say marriage is about working through problems and that everyone deserves a second chance. But how do you forgive someone who not only cheated but also insulted the person who raised you? Who took advantage of our hospitality while sleeping with another man? Uncle Jacob has been my rock through all this. He keeps reminding me that real love isn't about money or status. He says Megan showed her true colors, and I'm better off learning this now than years down the road. I know he's right, but it still hurts. I'm sticking to my decision to divorce her. Am I making the right choice? Update 1: Life has a way of throwing unexpected curveballs at you. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, everything changed again. My Uncle Jacob had a massive heart attack 3 days ago. He collapsed at the store while helping a customer find plumbing supplies. One of our regular customers, Mr. Peterson, was there and called 911 immediately, but it was too late. The doctors said it was sudden and there was nothing they could have done. They mentioned something about a blocked artery, but honestly, I was too shocked to process all the medical details. The last conversation I had with him keeps playing in my head. It was at breakfast that morning. We were talking about ordering new inventory for the store, and he was teaching me about managing supplier relationships. He seemed fine, maybe a little tired, but nothing unusual. He even joked about how I needed to learn all this because he wouldn't be around forever to run the store. I never thought those words would become reality so soon. The house feels empty without him. I keep expecting to hear him whistling in the kitchen or the sound of his favorite old armchair creaking. His coffee mug is still in the dish rack where he left it that morning. I can't bring myself to move it. The morning paper he was reading is still folded on the kitchen table, open to the crossword puzzle he never got to finish. Yesterday, his lawyer, Mr. Richardson, contacted me about the will. We've known Mr. Richardson for years. He and Uncle Jacob went to high school together. When I arrived at his office, he looked like he'd been crying too. It turns out Uncle Jacob had updated his will just a month ago, right after everything happened with Megan. He left everything to me, the house, his savings, and the hardware store. I had no idea he'd even been thinking about this. Mr. Richardson handed me a letter Uncle Jacob had written the week before his death. The envelope had "for my son" written on it in his messy handwriting. Inside, he wrote about how proud he was of me, not just for how I handled the situation with Megan, but for the man I'd become. He said taking me in after my parents died was the best decision he ever made. He wrote about how watching me grow up gave his life purpose and meaning. The inheritance isn't what most people would consider wealthy, but it's significant. The house is fully paid off. Uncle Jacob never believed in mortgages. The hardware store has been profitable for decades, with a loyal customer base. There's also a decent amount in savings and investments. Uncle Jacob was always smart with money, living simply and investing consistently. He wrote in the letter that he wanted me to have a solid foundation to build my life on. While all this was happening, drama was unfolding on Megan's side. Drake's wife, Patricia, apparently hired a private investigator after finding suspicious charges on their joint credit cards. The pie uncovered multiple affairs, including the one with Megan. According to Amy, who still keeps me updated, Drake's wife showed up at the restaurant during dinner service and caused a huge scene. She threw printed photos of Drake with various women, including Megan, all over the dining room. Drake, trying to save his marriage and his reputation, immediately cut ties with everyone involved. He kicked Megan out of the luxury apartment, changed the locks, and canceled all the credit cards he'd given her. The restaurant staff watched as Megan begged him not to do this, crying about having nowhere to go. He told her to never contact him again. Amy says Megan's been staying at the Red Moon Motel on the outskirts of town. It's not the kind of place she was bragging about living in a few weeks ago. She tried applying at other upscale restaurants, but word has spread about what happened at Drake's, and no one wants to hire her. I heard she's been calling mutual friends, telling them she made a mistake and asking about me, but no one's telling her about Uncle Jacob yet. I've taken over running the hardware store. Had to close it for a few days after Uncle Jacob's death, but the regular customers have been incredibly supportive. Many of them knew him for decades and have shared stories about him that I'd never heard before. Like how he used to help elderly customers install their purchases for free, or how he kept a tab running for people who were going through tough times. Going through his office at the store has been both painful and enlightening. Uncle Jacob kept meticulous records of everything. I found notebooks dating back 20 years, detailing every business decision he made. There were also personal notes about me, report cards, drawings I made as a kid, even the architectural plans for my first school project. He'd saved everything. The house feels different now. Every corner holds memories of him. The garage where he taught me to use tools, the kitchen where we had our morning coffee, the living room where we watched baseball games together. I've been sleeping in the guest room because I can't bring myself to change anything in his room yet. His clothes still hang in the closet, his reading glasses still sit on the nightstand. The divorce proceedings are moving forward. My lawyer says Megan hasn't contested anything so far. Maybe she realizes she has no grounds to demand anything after what she did. Or maybe she's too preoccupied with her own problems right now. Either way, I'm grateful for one less complication during this difficult time. I miss him so much it hurts. But running the store helps. It's like keeping a piece of him alive. The regular customers tell me I remind them of him, especially when I'm helping someone find exactly what they need. I guess all those years of watching him work really paid off. I'm determined to keep his legacy going, to run the business with the same integrity and kindness he showed everyone. Update 2: Yesterday was one of the hardest days since Uncle Jacob's passing. Megan showed up at the house unannounced around dinner time. She looked different from the last time I saw her, no designer clothes or expensive jewelry, just jeans and a plain sweater. Her eyes were puffy from crying, and she'd lost weight. She stood on the porch, holding a small photo album from our wedding, saying she'd heard about Uncle Jacob's death and the inheritance through mutual friends. At first, I didn't want to let her in, but some part of me wanted to hear what she had to say. Maybe I needed closure, or maybe I just wanted to see if she'd changed at all. We sat in the living room, the same room where she used to complain about living with my uncle, where she once called this house a retirement home. She started crying immediately, saying she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She talked about how young and stupid she'd been, how Drake had filled her head with promises and dreams of a luxurious life. She claimed she'd realized what really matters after everything fell apart with Drake. Megan told me about how Drake had kicked her out of the apartment with barely an hour to pack. How his wife had threatened to sue her for alienation of affection. She lost her job at the restaurant, and no other upscale place would hire her because of the scandal. She'd been staying at that cheap motel, working at a gas station to afford the weekly rate. Then she brought up memories of our wedding day. She talked about how happy we were, dancing in Uncle Jacob's backyard under the pergola we built. She mentioned how kind Uncle Jacob had been to her, walking her down the aisle when her own family couldn't be there. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. But then came the real reason for her visit. She started talking about how we could make things work now. How with the inheritance, we could live comfortably in the house. She suggested running the hardware store together, saying she had experience in customer service. She even talked about having kids and raising them in this house, making Uncle Jacob proud. That's when everything became clear. Nothing had really changed, she was still the same materialistic person who'd cheated on me. She wasn't sorry for hurting me or disrespecting Uncle Jacob. She was sorry her plan with Drake hadn't worked out, and now she was looking for her next safe landing. I told her to leave and never come back. I said the divorce would proceed as planned, and if she tried to contest it now, I'd make sure everyone in town knew the details of her affair with Drake. I told her Uncle Jacob had updated his will right after finding out about her cheating, and that he'd seen right through her act. She got angry then, showing her true colors again. Called me vindictive and said I was just like my uncle, too stubborn to give people second chances. She said I was being cruel, that people make mistakes and deserve forgiveness. Then she tried a different approach, saying since we were still legally married when Uncle Jacob died, she might be entitled to some of the inheritance. I laughed at that. My lawyer had already confirmed that Uncle Jacob's will was ironclad, and given the documented infidelity, she had no claim to anything. When she realized she wasn't getting anywhere, she started threatening to tell people I'd abused her, that living with Uncle Jacob had been like prison. The divorce was finalized last week. Megan tried claiming she deserved alimony since she was unemployed, but given our short marriage and the evidence of her affair, the judge denied her claim. She's been telling mutual friends that I'm heartless, that I'm enjoying watching her suffer. She even tried spreading rumors that Uncle Jacob had left her something in the will but I was hiding it. Some mutual friends think I'm being too harsh. They say people can change if given the chance, that marriage is about forgiveness. But they didn't see how she acted when she thought she had a wealthy man on the hook. They didn't hear her mocking Uncle Jacob or calling me pathetic for being close to him. Amy from the restaurant told me Megan's been hanging around Drake's other restaurants, hoping to run into him. Apparently, she still thinks she can win him back, even though he's trying to save his marriage. Some people never learn. Last I heard, she's dating another restaurant owner, someone older with money. Seems like she's sticking to her pattern. Update 3: Life has settled into a new normal, though getting here wasn't easy. The hardware store is doing better than ever. I've started implementing some of the updates Uncle Jacob had planned but never got around to. Found his old notebook with ideas for modernizing the inventory system and expanding the plumbing section. It's like he left me a roadmap to follow. The regular customers seem to appreciate that I'm keeping his vision alive while making small improvements. Old Mr. Peterson, who was there when Uncle Jacob had his heart attack, stops by almost daily now. He doesn't always buy anything, just comes to chat and share stories about Uncle Jacob from before I was born. Through these conversations, I'm learning new things about my uncle, like how he helped several local businesses get started by extending them credit during tough times. Megan still tries to contact me, though less frequently now. She creates fake social media accounts to message me or gets mutual friends to pass along messages. Last week, she had someone drop off a letter at the store. I didn't read it, just threw it away like all the others. Amy keeps me updated about Megan's life, though I never ask. She's dating some 55-year-old restaurant owner from the next town over. Apparently, he's going through a divorce and has been showing Megan off at expensive restaurants. Some things never change. I finally gathered the courage to deal with Uncle Jacob's room last month. I couldn't leave it untouched forever, though part of me wanted to. I've turned it into a home office, but kept some things exactly as they were, his old photographs on the walls, his collection of baseball caps hanging by the door, and his favorite chair by the window. The rest of his clothes and personal items, I donated to a local shelter, except for his work shirts with the store logo. Those are hanging in my closet now. Last week, while going through the last of his things in the attic, I found an old photo album I'd never seen before. It was full of pictures from before the plane crash, photos of my parents with Uncle Jacob, all of them young and happy. There were pictures of Uncle Jacob holding me as a baby, playing with me in the park, and one of all of us at my parents' last Christmas. Finding these photos hit hard, but in a good way. It reminded me that even though I lost my parents, I was lucky enough to have an uncle who stepped up and became a father to me. The hardware store's customer base has grown. I took Uncle Jacob's advice from his notebooks and started a basic website where people can check our inventory. The older customers still prefer coming in to ask questions and get recommendations, which is fine by me. I like continuing Uncle Jacob's tradition of taking time with each customer, making sure they get exactly what they need. Some nights, I sit in Uncle Jacob's old chair by the window, looking out at the backyard where I got married. The pergola still stands, though the flowers Megan wanted are long gone. I've planted some of Uncle Jacob's favorite vegetables instead. He always talked about starting a garden but never got around to it. Yesterday, one of Uncle Jacob's old friends from high school stopped by the store. He looked around, nodding approvingly at the changes, then told me Uncle Jacob would be proud. Not just of how I'm running the store, but of how I've handled everything life has thrown at me. Coming from someone who knew Uncle Jacob so long, it meant a lot. I miss him every day, but I'm no longer drowning in grief. Instead, I'm trying to live the way he taught me, with integrity, compassion, and self-respect. His lessons about what really matters in life got me through the mess with Megan, and they're still guiding me now. Some people might call it old-fashioned, but Uncle Jacob's values haven't steered me wrong yet.